Alright, next, we got everything squared away as far as this navigation is concerned. You do not have to do a horizontal navigation, but most websites are. Now you know how to do it. What we're going to move on to next is organizing the content. We tried to do this a few weeks ago, did not go well, but now we got it figured out. Everything's been updated. It's now HTML5, and we have everything really clean and really succinct. You're going to like this. But the first thing I want to do is add a header, because never is there a time where the navigation is way on the top like that. So underneath my body here, I'm going to make another div, or should I just call it a header? No, I'm going to make another div here, and within that div, I'm just going to call it a header, right? So div ID, and I'm just going to say header. Okay, and then of course I'm going to close it right away, and we are good to go. I'm just going to refresh it live, and then you can see nothing's happening because I don't have anything in there. So I'm going to add, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some stuff. I'll add my name, so I'll do a header 1. I'm going to say Brian J. Seeley. I'll add my credentials for funsies. Oh my goodness gracious. Hang on. I'll add my credentials here. PhD. Oh, there we go. And what else I'm going to do? I'll add something cute, maybe a little H4. Close it right away because I've been having a habit of not. And I'll say professor of the class. And then I'll do a cute little P tag. And talk about the class, so it's Introduction to Web Development. And I think here, just for giggles, I will add the course name is INSTGECH 470. Okay, great. Now I hit refresh, and it is what it is. I got that cute little thing there. But now I know what to do. So now I can go over to my main CSS, and I can get anything in there to be a certain way. I mean, that's a bit intense, but it's true, right? So where's my header? I'll just make one. Of course I have to. So now when I go pound, not only is my menu there, you see, but also my header. So I can do header. And I want to do text align, right? I mean, I want everything to be in the middle of that. So is that going to work if I do that? So text align, and I'll go with center. Where is it? Right there. Great. See how everything kind of went really cute there and nice in the middle. I think I'm also going to change that font because I clearly don't like any of that. Let's see if that's going to work. So font, family, I think I did that. Okay, so everything's starting to look quite nice here. And I think what else I'm going to do is, because we kind of messed with it in the table, I think, I want to put a border on that. Not so much because I want it to look a certain way, but just so we can see how it's going to play out as we build this. You know, we're going to section these using div tags, and this will be a helpful thing. So to do a border, all you have to do is pick the style. So I'm going to say border style, I think it is. Border dash style. Yes. And then I'll go solid because I don't want to be cute. I just want you to see it. So I'm just saying border style solid. When I go to click live there, you can see that it put a border around everything there. So that's really nice. Not great, I'm not winning any awards here, but at least you can see that I do have a header and everything is there, and I can control it in my CSS. I can change individual items of that too, right? So if I go back to my source code here and I wanted to say, maybe I wanted to put something here italicized, right? So let's see if this works. For some reason I feel like it's not going to, but I'm going to try. So I want to put the P within my header, I want it to be italicized. No, let's not set my H4. So I'll go to my thing, and then I got to create a new one. So I'm going to say header, and then what did I say, P? No, H4. H4, open, closed, and then let's see, font, style, and italic. Let's see if that works. So basically, see here, if I go back to my source code, what I'm trying to do is get into this header div and say within that div, this H4, I want it to be italicized. So I'm going to go to my main CSS, I'm going to say live, and then there you go, you see that it worked. Everything else remained the same, except for that started to be italicized. So that's how you do that successfully. Now, what's next is doing the content, okay? This is terribly important and something that once we do it once, you'll have a template to make any website ever. And I do mean that. Kind of, sort of, but not really. But I got this random P here, which I'm going to get rid of. I now have a div up here, which is my header. So you see I have it opened, I have it closed. That's my header. I have another div here that is open and is closed. That is my horizontal navigation. Now what I want to do is create another div, right? But that div is not going to be an ID at this point, right? So this is where I flawed the last time when I tried to make this for you, is I'm going to make a div, and instead of it being an ID, meaning just a divisor, I want it to be more than that. I want it to be a class. And a class means that it is a group versus just an individual, right? So I'm going to go ahead and say a class, because that'll define everything within this div to be in conjunction and working together. So think about it, if you're an individual by yourself, it's a div, but if you walk into a classroom, it's all of you together. So that's how you want to kind of work with that. It is, in fact, a class. And I'm going to call it just something simple. I'm going to call it a container, because that's exactly what it is that I want to do. And then I'll close it right away. So what I have now is a class named container, right? And now I want to put my information in there. So if I want a 3-column chart, you notice that most websites are either done with a horizontal something, but there's always at least 3 columns where you can divide your content. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to do div, and now it's IDs because now they're individual. I'm going to call this one left, and I'm just going to put the word left in there. This is just for us. I'm going to make another one and call it middle. And just call it again middle, so M-I-D-D-L-E. And then finally I'm going to do right. So I'm going to have another div ID. I'm going to call it right. Clean that up. Put RIGHT in there. And there we go. So I want to make sure I have this kind of cleaned up for you like I did up there. So basically I'm saying, when I click on this div here, it's a class, right? So there's 1, 2, 3 divs or 3 students in my class. Anything that I talk to about this container right here, so my class container, is going to reflect these 3. So you can see when I click on that, click on my div container, see how it encumbers all 3 of those? That's really good. Okay, that is fantastic and exactly what we want. But for this, right, so this is what's great. For this, and this is the new way of doing things, which is absolutely fantastic, to turn these divs into horizontal like we did with this navigation up here, all we have to do is go over to our CSS. Okay, so we're here, we're getting ready. And then I want to call to that container. I don't want to call to each individual div just yet. I just want to call to that container. And when you call to a class, it's not this hashtag. It is a period. So I click that period, and of course, just like with the other ones, it comes up. If it doesn't, it's okay. Just type the word container or whatever you named your class. But I'm going to call that container and go from there. Now remember, we wanted this horizontal navigation to display a certain way. If you remember, right, we went up here and we said display that inline. So that went ahead and put it across. I'm not going to do that with this. I'm not going to say inline, but I am in fact going to say display, right? So all I have to do is type display because I want it to display a certain way. And when I choose that, all I have to choose from this list is this flex and or type the word flex. The moment that I do that, you can see that right here in my div, it is now left, it is now middle, it is now right. They are now absolutely perfectly aligned next to each other versus on top of each other, because divs are a block item, containers are a block item, but if you go ahead and display it correctly using any type of CSS coding, in this case flex, it'll go as you want to see it. Now, I understand what you're saying, and probably what you're seeing here is I do have left, middle, right, but goodness, it's all jumped up. They're just sitting right next to each other like that, which is not nice. And all I have to do in that is go back to my source code, and remember I called the IDs left, middle, right, and that's pretty common. You're going to want to use that, especially when you're designing, because that's where your content is going to be. So I'm going to say hashtag left, and I'm going to close it right away. And then I'm just going to copy and paste these, Command-C, because I know that I also want this to say middle, and I want this one to say right. So right now nothing's going to happen, right? Because I didn't do anything. I just declared them in my CSS. What I would like to do is kind of organize them so there's enough room in between. Now I want to do that using %, just like I did up here in the %, because I want the size of this to adapt based on the screen. So the only thing that I have to do is go here and just start typing, oh gosh, the word width. And there it is, width. And then I'm going to say, so this is my left, I only want that, let's say about 15%. And then the middle, that's going to be a majority of my information, so I'm going to say width. And I'm going to want that to, I guess, 70%. No, I'll say 75. Which leaves me, what, at 90, so that means my right, my width, I'm going to want that at 10%. So as you can see mathematically, that adds up to 100%. So now when I go ahead and hit live, you can see everything worked out. Here's my right, it's only 10%. My middle, see that? See the blue line, how far it goes, and then my left. So that is super ideal. It looks really nice. I'm going to go to my source code here, excuse me, my CSS, and just to make this kind of a little bit more explicit, I am going to add a border around this. So border style, you remember? Where is it? I'll just keep typing border style. I'll go with solid like I did before. And I'm just going to copy and paste that, Command-C, just so you can see the actual size of this working out. For some reason, it's not liking anything here. Why? Oh, I doubled up that. Oops. And I also didn't do that. Goodness gracious. Rookie moves there, huh? Make sure you have your semicolons on it. So I'm going to actually go ahead and preview this in Safari because I want to show you how it actually adapts now. And I'm going to say yes to save. And there you see the borders around them and everything. So now when I go like this, see how it changes? See how everything is just kind of working with it? I like it, and maybe you do too. I don't know. I do know that I don't like to double up things like that, so I'm going to say border style right. Or is it border left? Or border right style? Yeah, that's what it is. Border right style, I'm going to say none. And I'm doing that on the left, so that doesn't look like that. And I'll go ahead and do that with the middle as well. And no big deal here. It's just so I don't have that that double line there. So now it's like everything looks kind of the same. Okay? So yeah, that's how that goes. And I'm just going to put some information in there just so you can see a little bit more about how this goes. So I'm going to go back to the source code. When I say information here, right now it just says left, middle, and right. That's not giving you a really concise of how the stuff can adapt. So let me go to get some content for you. There we go. Just say this. I'm just going to replace, instead of it saying left, I'm actually going to put content in there. So I got that in there. Refresh. Let's see. I'll do this one. That's a lot of information. Oh, this is my middle column, so now I'm just instead of saying middle, I'm going to add this. And hopefully you see what I'm doing. I'm doing nothing more than replacing those words with actual content so you can see how it adapts. So here we got this fumble recovery stuff here. You know, anything that we want to display, like actual content, needs to be in the code part, and all the design stuff needs to be in the CSS part. So now I'm going to preview this again just so you can see it. And now when it pops up here, you can see how everything is just jumping exactly how we want it to, right? See all the text moving, the size of the columns are changing, the navigation is doing its thing, so we are okay. What I do want to do, though, is you notice that, see how close it is to the border here? What we could do there is what we've been doing, especially what we did with the navigation here, is we're going to mess with the padding of that. So within all of these, I'm just going to put a 5% padding. And when you do percent, like I'm about to do here and say 5%, what you're saying is that you want a 5% padding around all of the content. And that's going to be really explicit here in a second. So now I'm just going to say refresh. There you can see there's 5%. You see that now? There's a nice white around all of the content there, so it's not jammed up against stuff and things. And then when I go to do this in the preview sense, you can see that that 5% remains. See that? No matter how far I go, there's always 5% in that. Is 5% too much? Probably. I don't need to do that. Like in the middle, it kind of makes sense to do that. On the sides, maybe not. But I just wanted to show you kind of how that would look and how it's supposed to work using percent versus px, which is pixels. The other part is, I wonder if I can change the font family within a container. Oh yeah, look at that. Cool. So there you have it. What I'm not going to do is talk about adding images or anything along those lines, because that's something we've done before. But here's a nice little video, and I kid you not, so one more time I'm going to preview this. This is, more than likely, any website that you've seen before ever to a degree, right? I mean, you could have content over here, maybe different type of things. You can have the pictures here. I mean, this is it. Just change the percentage of this if you want it to display differently. If you wanted to put something horizontal, just like we did with this header, all you have to do is after the container, put a horizontal thing in there. You could actually fixate the height to be a certain way if you'd like. So there's just a lot you can do, but this is, without regard, just pretty much any website ever. So that is the end of this, and then we're going to talk about design in the next video.